G'day folks, Wren here, and it's time for another 5 Friday. So for this 5 Friday, I'm going to recommend 5 books by Australian authors. Some of these aren't set in Australia, but some of them are. But either way, these are some Australian authors that I have really enjoyed. Some of these are on my all-time favourite books list. Although I'm only recommending these 5 books, there are so many other Australian authors that you could read. I really want to know some more, so if you have any suggestions, please put them down below. So first up is Wheeler the Koori Warrior, and this is book 1, Guardians. This is by Jordan Gould and Richard Pritchard. This is a First Nations story written by First Nation and Torres Strait Islander authors. But this is a middle grade series, and so far the first 2 books have gotten both 5 stars from me because they're amazing. This is a middle grade historical fantasy because this is set during the time of the megafauna. You know, ancient times. I know I'm an archaeologist, I should know the terms, but it's hot, so my brain has stopped working. There is megafauna here, and the indigenous communities within this world are very connected to the animals, and it's really beautiful. But in this first book, Wheeler's people, they have been taken by dragons. And it's not just the people that were taken, but the animals were also taken. Wheeler ends up, she finds her grandmother, who was the Koori warrior, and her grandmother passes on a totem to Wheeler and says, you know, it's now your time to be the Koori warrior. And so to be that Koori warrior, Wheeler needs to get the 5 totems, I believe there were, and these totems represent these megafauna that have some kind of powers, and once you get them all together, you're the Koori warrior, you can face down anything. Wheeler is on a mission to find all of the guardians, and in doing that she wants to help her people and get rid of these dragons and all these things. But this is such a good time, and there's lots of illustrations, and something else I really love about this. So we have these little footnotes, and these are just little extra bits of information or sometimes translation notes about some indigenous words that have been used or some cultural things that are very specific to certain indigenous communities. And it's really beautifully done, and I felt like I learned a lot while reading this, and it's such a fun time. This is just highly entertaining, and I really recommend everyone go pick these up because they're such a fun time. Next up I have Scarecrow by Matthew Riley. Now this is the 3rd book in the Shane Schofield series. This is a part of the series, but this is my favourite of the series and very much in my I don't know, top 20 of all time favourites. So it's a really fun time. But this series is about a military guy whose codename is Scarecrow, and he goes on a bunch of these really interesting missions. So in the first one, him and his team are told to go to Antarctica, I think it is, because there's a believed UFO in there. But it's full of gunfights and impossible things that no human can do. In this one, which is the 3rd one, there are a bunch of bounty hunters that are after Scarecrow. I love bounty hunters, and this was just so fun, and Scarecrow got a friend, and it was really cute. I love these books. They're just entertaining, and that's the one thing that I can guarantee about Matthew Riley books, is that you will be entertained. Whether you like the story or not, you'll be entertained. Something else with some of these, you get little mixed media things sometimes, and diagrams. You'll always get some kind of diagram with Matthew Riley books, whether it's of some particular space station, well, not a space station, but some kind of military facility that you're in, or weapons, or maps, or just blueprints to wherever they're in. So you'll always get that, which is always fun. They're just, I can't even really say much. They're just fun times. I'm not a military positive person. I don't read these kinds of books, but I randomly picked up the first one day, and I had so much fun, and I was like, well, I guess I'll read them all. So just think of these as action movies in a novel, because that's kind of what they are. Next up is another all-time favorite of mine, and that is It's Been a Pleasure, Noni Blake by Claire Christian. This is a adult romance book with a plus-size bisexual bisexual main character, and I was just really surprised by this one because it was fantastic. It's about this woman who is kind of like in a rut with her life. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's not really happy and she wants to go find herself. So she takes a trip. Yeah, so she is traveling around Europe, having all of these adventures that she never really got to have, and, you know, being as wild and crazy as she wants, living her life and trying to figure out who she is in the process. And it was really beautiful to read about someone who is in their 30s and they don't have their life together. But that was a really good thing to read. It was so fun to have Noni's perspective of just doing all these things that, like, she knows aren't particularly good, but, you know, she'd like to experience some wild moments in her life. So she does all of that. She does end up forming a relationship with a tattoo artist. Oh no, he's a firefighter. I thought he was a tattooist. But she meets up with this very strapping lad and they form a relationship that ends up being a lot more intense than she kind of bargained for. And of course, like, you know, they end up together because of course. But I really loved their relationship and how open they were with each other because, you know, Noni was like, I'm not taking anything this time. Like, I will just do what I want to do and not try and, like, please anyone else. And that was really powerful. And it was just really great to see this woman find herself and finding the joy in life while also healing from the trauma of life. It was really powerful and I love this book. I hate this cover. With a passion, hate this cover, but love the book. Next up is another romancy one, but that is The Boy from the Mish by Gary Lonesborough. This is a phenomenal book. I read this in one day. It's so good. This is a YA queer contemporary romance book about two Indigenous boys who meet over Christmas because one of them comes to stay with the other over the summer holidays. They form this friendship and that kind of turns into something more by the end of it. But it was really about what it means to be Indigenous in Australia. There is a lot of comments about the racism that is still very prevalent in Australia. There was also some really beautiful moments about one of these boys. He doesn't know his mob, so he kind of gets like welcomed into this other boy's mob and just like trying to learn his culture because he hasn't been able to in the past. And that was really beautiful to see him like hesitantly accepting all these new people in his life. Like that was really beautiful. I loved how this felt so real. Just the entire book, it didn't feel like I was reading a book. It felt like I was just living through someone else's eyes. And it was really beautifully written. And like, I can't believe this is like a debut book. This was phenomenal. And I know this book already has a lot of hype, but it needs more. It needs so much more hype because it's absolutely amazing. And then the last one of my favorite books of all time, and that is Hangman by Jack Heath. This book is messed up. This series is messed up, but I love it. This is about a cannibal who helps the FBI. Yeah, that's right. Our main character is a cannibal. He eats people and that's his thing. And it's amazing. It's so messed up, especially when you get into kind of Timothy's backstory. You're like, oh dear God, someone help this guy. But it's so gross in the best way. And Timothy, he helps the FBI. And what I really loved about this was that he wasn't portrayed as this super genius that knows everything about everything. He's just really good at puzzles, but he doesn't know everything. He's still kind of an idiot, but he has this brain that can kind of see some problems and he's like, oh yeah, I think it's this. Probably also helps that he himself is a criminal, but you know, that's fine. This was such fun. And in this one, you just get to see him kind of help solve a crime. He enters into a relationship for the first time in his life, and that's a whole new experience for him because, you know, he likes to eat people, not form attachments with them. So that was interesting to get his like, oh, what do I do type thing. You find out how he's able to work with the FBI in the capacity that he does. And then in later books, he kind of moves away a bit from the FBI, but it's still super interesting and he's just so messed up. And it's so much fun. I love these books. Also, the audiobooks for these are also really good. I enjoyed them a lot. Definitely one of my favorite books of all time. I very much like messed up books like, hi, I'm Wren. I'm disturbed. But there we go, those are 5 books by Australian authors. Very few of them were set in Australia, but they are Australian authors. And if you know of any more, please let me know, because I would love to read from some more Australian authors. And what are your favourite Australian authors, if you have any? Let me know, because there are some really good ones out there. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!